Welcome to another edition of Interviewing the Legends. I'm your host, Ray Shasho. Kansas, America's legendary progressive rock band, will celebrate their 50th anniversary in 2023. To commemorate this landmark occasion, current label InsideOutMusic are pleased to announce another fork in the road. 50 years of Kansas. Uh, 50 Years of Kansas, which was released on December 9th in Europe and actually today in North America. A career-spanning collection. It features carefully selected tracks from across the band's sizable discography, as well as a new version of Can I Tell You, originally recorded and released on their 1974 debut. The song is updated by the current lineup. It provides a full circle perspective on the band's long and continuing history that has seen them release 16 studio albums and sell in excess of 30 million albums worldwide. The song, Can I Tell You, may not have been our biggest hit, but it is one of the most important songs in the career of the band. Kansas, says original member and guitarist, Mr. Richard Williams. Can I Tell You was the first song on the demo reel we sent to Don Kirshner. Hearing that demo is what led to Kansas getting a record deal. It felt appropriate after 50 years to come full circle and record it with the current lineup. Kansas will celebrate their 50th anniversary with an extensive tour in North America in 2023. Please welcome legendary original guitarist and original member of the classic rock group Kansas, Richard Williams, to Interviewing the Legends. Hello, Rich.
People.
Before we got on, we were just talking about Robbie Steinhardt. I was going to interview Robbie. I know Michael Franklin, who produced the album, not in Kansas anymore, which is a great album. It was an excellent album. And my condolences go out to you and the entire band.
It's, Robbie, he followed his own drummer more than probably anybody I knew. And he came and he went, and he was always, Carrie Livgren's daughter was at, excuse me, at the funeral.
Right.
And she so eloquently said that what she loved about Robbie, he was so unashamedly himself at all times throughout his life. And that was true. I mean, Robbie was a one-of-a-kind, talk about marching to your own drummer, a unique spirit indeed.
Yeah.
And I loved the guy. He was funny, intense, insane sometimes, very compassionate, always a very nice guy, great conversationalist.
Right.
Very interesting, musically very eclectic. I always thought Robbie, if there's anyone that should win the lottery and buy their own island and have their own kingdom,
right,
Robbie would have been the perfect guy for that. That could have just wandered around his own island, and just had minions under him that he would be kind to and just live there.
Yeah,
he was very unlike anybody you'd ever meet.
Yeah.
It was not unexpected. He'd been going through a lot of health issues for a while. Right. But it was still a shock, when Robbie passed. And going to the funeral was surreal. It was, you had to you kept going out of yourself like you're an outsider watching. And
exactly.
It was pretty tough.
Yeah. It's, as a music enthusiast, and me, I followed Kansas since high school. It's been 50 years for me since that first album, and as a music enthusiast, it was a shock when Robbie passed away because, we didn't know anything, and he had the new album out. So everything was great. We were going to promote the album, but I'm glad he got the album out. I'm glad that happened. Yeah, that was important. And hats off also to Michael Franklin for producing that album and getting
He
that
did a
album out as well.
fantastic job. It's a great
Yeah,
sound record.
yeah, yeah. Michael's a good guy too. Like I said, I followed Kansas for 50 years. It's so funny because I was in my little group in high school. There weren't hippies back then. We called them freaks, you know, had the long hair, and we were all, you know, every week we went to 2 concerts, and, you know, we were very into music and very knowledgeable about music. But when Kansas hit the scene, these guys from Kansas, and some of these guys look like farmers, and they're playing these intricate sounds. We were totally blown away. And I think you blew away a lot of people when you guys first came out.
It's funny. Me and Phil Ehart, our drummer, we were talking yesterday. We speak every day, and remembering I think the first album might have come out, or it was about to come out.
Right.
And we played in Parsons, Kansas, with Blue Oyster Cult. That was our first, get together. We've known them since then. And Phil was saying that Buck told him, he said, well, we just kind of stood on the side of the stage to see who this Kansas band was. And it was, they just all sitting there going, what in the fuck are these guys doing? We don't even understand this. It was, these, hayseeds from the flyover states. Some of them look like farmers.
Yep.
Although I wore overalls, but I never worked a day on a farm. It was a fashion statement. What can I say?
Sure, I did too.
But it was, they just couldn't put it all together. It's like, what is all of this? We don't even understand what's going on.
Exactly.
Where are they going? My God, where did they go? It was, we were unusual.
Yeah. Yeah, when I saw you guys, I said, these guys could be Canton Heat, Atlanta Rhythm Section, Pure Prairie League, and then boom, progressive rock and very intricate pieces, with messages of a hope. You guys were fantastic, man. As a matter of fact, I want to thank you in the band because you got me through a lot of issues growing up, and Kansas was one of those bands that really helped me out. I was really into Kansas, Yes, Jethro Tull, that circuit. You know what I mean? It kind of all goes together in a way. But you guys were incredible. Your first meeting, it was actually Wally Gold that actually saw you, right? And not Don Kirshner.
Yes, we had made a demo tape.
Right.
We were in a band called White Clover. And that was Kansas minus Kerry Livgren.
Right.
And we'd made this demo, and it had three, it was, the actual reel-to-reel tape had 3 songs on each side. We didn't, I guess they never knew that there was 3 songs on the other side. Can I Tell You was the first song. They really liked that song and the violin and all that. Yeah. I don't know what they thought about the next 2, but that song and the violin playing got their interest. And so, and it's even a miracle that tape was even heard. And we got a call from Wally Gold just saying, going to be coming out in a couple of weeks. See you guys, put together some kind of show so I can see you. And he flew out. It was a shock to us. Okay, what are we going to do? So we found a place to do the show, place that we used to rent for, a couple times a year and play. Yeah. But we were not a typical club band where people flocked in to dance.
Exactly.
So what do we do? And this is all documented in the Miracles Out of Nowhere documentary, where it's like, what if we offer free beer? And so we advertised free beer in Kansas, and the place was packed. There's people trying to get in, lined up all around the building. And Wally Gold comes in, and he was very impressed. I mean, there's waiting room, standing room only, and people outside, and we were playing. People were drunk. They were responding because, hey, the beer's free. But it was a ploy that worked.
Sure.
And he calls Donnie back and says, man, there's something going on here. And they are a good band. And that's what really got our foot in the door.
Wow.
And we wanted to also add Kerry Livgren to this, which we did just prior to that show.
Right.
Because it's a small town. We're all peers.
Yeah.
Kerry's group had broken up, which was also called Kansas before this Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's try to talk Kerry into joining this because we got a record deal. Mm-hmm. And he did. And we signed a deal with Kirshner. It was the only offer we ever got. And so we took advantage of it. And they took advantage of us,
yeah.
as happens in the record business. But it was the only deal we would have ever gotten.
Yeah. But in the long run, all those earlier albums, I mean, did you guys do okay as far as the royalties and things like that?
Well, Don Kirshner was very clear.
Right.
I am a publisher.
Mm-hmm.
So take the publishing and put it in my pile.
Right.
Well, we didn't know anything about the business. So what's publishing? Don't worry about that. It's like sheet music and stuff.
Yeah.
We didn't know that was half the pie.
Yeah, exactly.
That we gave away.
All right.
And so then you got your songwriter stuff, which is songwriters are just that. So that's, so what does that leave for the band?
Yeah.
Our deal was like 25 cents an album.
Mm-hmm.
Out of our deal, we had to pay the recording costs from travel to hotels to everything to do with recording out of our 25 cents a record. And so when Left Overture went gold or maybe even platinum, we had finally paid our debt to the company store.
Yeah.
And that's when we actually started seeing a little money as a band from record sales. Meanwhile, the songwriters were getting song one. And Kirshner's rolling in the dough because he's getting all the publishing. But the band really hadn't done anything until then. And that's when we finally started getting our head above water.
Mm-hmm. I've had Phil on the show. Phil's a great guy, by the way. But he manages the band, right? Or he did. Is that right?
He did, yeah.
Does he still manage the band?
Yeah, for about 40 years now plus.
Wow.
Well, we were told that after, give it up. Nobody cares. From management to record company to promoters, you guys need to go away. Find something else to do because your career's over.
Jeez.
And we didn't really have a team to put on the field at the time.
Right.
And so we just, we kind of freeze-dried ourselves for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. And then things started kind of rolling in. And to make a very long story short, what we discovered was everyone completely misinterpreted and underestimated our fan base. And so we started doing things in our own camp, our own way, and never looked back. And for the last 8 years of this band has been the best years of our career. Mm-hmm. Been more busy, more the camaraderie with this group is from every guy on the crew to the whole band. Yeah, the work ethic, the everything. I mean, we rehearse an hour and a half before every show in the dressing room. We laugh, we have fun. Everybody's glad to be there. We've kind of gone beyond, grown out of the ego stage and all of that. We're just all grateful to be here. Yeah.
One thing too, you've never heard Kansas involved in drugs, which, I don't know, maybe that's the spiritual side of the band or what, but.
No, it's a good cover up is what it is.
That is a good cover up.
Yeah. When we did the Miracles Out of Nowhere documentary.
Right.
Okay. How are we going to approach this? Mm-hmm. Um, okay, there's the obvious plan A of naughty boys doing naughty things in a rock band. Well,
Right.
I mean, you can take any garage band, any club band, any rock band, and tell that boring story.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of us or all of us did that,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not really the story of the band. That's just a consequence of being in a band sometimes. So let's take that off the table. Plus, we didn't want that to be a focus, just dirty laundry. So let's
Right.
remove that aspect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of us never touched anything, and some of us had our fingerprints all over it.
Yeah.
To varying degrees. We've all, you know, I've been clean and sober for 13 years.
Congratulations.
And it's the best thing I ever did by far. But yeah, my biggest problem was booze and trying to drink every town I was in dry.
Right.
Never started to be an alcoholic, but gee, guess what happened?
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to, it was becoming clear that the band didn't want me to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
My wife made it very clear that I can't tell you what you're going to do. I can't tell you what I'm going to do. It's like, I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
And so there is always going to be that aspect in any organization. It's just some are better covering up than others. And some dabble and some have problems.
Yep.
We had we covered the gamut of everything on the dial.
The documentary was excellent, by the way. Miracles Out of Nowhere. And it was a very, very, very well done, very enjoyable, very entertaining. You know, the rumor in high school when you guys first came out was that you all had music degrees. You probably heard that before, right? That you all were, But in fact, only a few of you maybe had studied, right? Is that true?
Nobody had a music degree. Robbie, as being a violinist stuff, was his father was head of the music department at Kansas University.
Right.
And Robbie grew up, you know, with lessons and training and all of that. That was it. Nobody else had any training. I mean, Dave Hope played tuba. Yeah. In the high school marching band. And Phil had a brief stint, you know, playing snare in just the school band. Yeah. But he just did it by ear, and you know, never really learned to read or anything. You know, Carrie doesn't read. I don't read. Yeah, that was never. We grew up under the, you know, lift the needle onto the record,
Sure.
and keep doing that and learning things.
I find that fascinating. I don't know how you guys do that. You know, I was watching an interview with Buddy Rich on Johnny Carson. He never read music either.
I find that just amazing. I just read that recently too.
Yeah, that's incredible, man. I respect you guys that can do that, because I play some guitar and I don't know how you do it. Just pick up, you know, by ear. And you guys are so intricate, man. The way you know, create music, it's really something else.
It's more, it's memory work, muscle memory, mental memory, repetition.
Yep.
All of that, and you know, there's more than one way of skinning a cat, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, I wish, in hindsight, you know, I would have learned to read. Because now I've got a mental block against it. It's just, I look at it and just walk away.
Yeah, I know. I always think it's like math, you know, it gets complicated, then it's not fun anymore, you know, you get that serious about it. So I don't know, I'm like you. And I did have lessons too. I want to give you guys a lot of credit though, throughout the years with all the band changes. And you kept it going. You kept that machine rolling, and you got people that have filled in key spots did excellent, very, very good. So that can't be easy to do either.
Well, here's my philosophy on all of that, and it's learned by pain, really. and trial and error. Change for a human being in general is probably the most difficult thing that we fight against all the
Right.
time.
Sure.
You hate to see your favorite restaurant that you used to go to with your family close down. Oh, God, change kind of sucks,
Yeah.
but things change for a reason. It was
Hmm.
time to change.
Yeah.
Um, and so as things like the original Six, uh, example of the record deal, say
Hmm.
original Six wasn't motivated by cash. It wasn't motivated by fame, fortune, any of that. It was just guys wanting to do original material in a
Yeah.
very original way. And we were like pirates out on the open sea,
Hmm.
all together, all for one, all that stuff. Then royalties start coming in, and by the nature of our deal, and this isn't a complaint, it's just a matter of fact reality.
Hmm.
And the guys that wrote the songs, they're getting their fair share, but it does create a divide.
Yeah.
So, well, you haven't really gotten much of anything yet. Others have made a lot of money.
Right.
And it does, with egotistical, angry young men, it creates tension.
Hmm.
Um, and then when people start, I don't want to work so much. We're on the road all the time, and I want to spend more time building my new house. And it's like,
Hmm. Yep.
what? I haven't even got a car yet. And so those things, differences begin, and jealousies begin, and that starts changing the music in some ways, because people are going, well, I need to get a piece of this.
Yep.
So arrangements start getting altered, not for the better, or the attempts to anyway,
Hmm.
because I need to get my 2 cents worth in here
Yep.
so I can get a piece of that pie.
Sure.
And so motivations start to change. And so it's by the time, around, like audio visions and stuff, the course of the original Six had really run its course, I think.
Right.
We started here and we ended there. And meanwhile, Dave and Carrie had both become born again Christians.
Hmm.
You said the word hopeful. That was we always wanted to be lyrically ambiguous, um, hopeful, great word, inspirational,
Hmm.
but leaving room for interpretation.
Right.
What does this song mean to you? What do you think this song is about?
Hmm.
That's the type of things that always catch my ear.
Sure.
Suddenly, they knew what they wanted Kansas to be about.
Right.
And that's great. This is your mission,
Hmm.
but it wasn't our charter mission.
Right.
And so it was like, we will do this or we will leave. Well,
Yeah.
we're not going to do this.
Yeah.
So again, that change was inevitable, had to happen.
Right.
So what's next? Well, me and Phil, instead of just saying, okay, let's just go do something else,
Hmm.
we just thought, what do we do next? And that has been our question ever since.
Huh.
Every time there is a change, just go, okay, what's the plan? What's the plan? Okay, here's what we got. We got this great stuff going over here. There's a guy I know, a guy I met, a guy I've heard, whatever, that would be fantastic. Let's give him a call.
Yep.
Interview people, etc. And so we have learned, although change is still painful, you also have to be a little bit grateful for it to happen because it was necessary to get you to the next stepping stone. And that's where we are today. And there will be more change. I guarantee it, because it always
Yeah.
happens. But we are prepared for it.
Was that part of when you guys formed Native Window? Was that you wanted something different, and you went off and did like a spin-off, I guess, or?
Well, what it was by that time, after we'd done
Mhm.
the album with Carrie again
Right.
at Carrie's farm, Steve was not really involved except for phoning in his vocal parts. He was working on a solo album. After that project, neither one of them had much interest at all. Well, let's just say they had no interest in doing any new Kansas material.
Yeah.
Okay, so 16 years of that passed, and Steve was starting to struggle with his voice, so there was fewer and fewer songs that he either could or would sing. Our song list is getting smaller, and there's no chance of being creative. So finally we said, let's do something else. Let's be another band for a moment. The one rule is we will not be Kansas. If it turns in that direction, we're going to take a hard left and go somewhere else.
Right.
And let's just have some fun, get in the studio and be creative. So it was born out of frustration of not being able to be creative. And that's why we did that record. We just missed that part of the process.
Yeah, it's interesting. I haven't heard that album yet, but I will.
It's not Kansas.
It's not Kansas. Yeah. I got to listen to it now. Some of my favorite songs throughout the years, of course, "The Wall," which is probably a lot of people's, very powerful song. A lot of your songs are epic. I always call the Kansas, those type of songs, epic songs.
Yeah,
of
there's a lot of material we do.
Right.
But there are about a third of them, or a fourth of them, that I would put into exactly that category. Epic. Song for America. Epic.
Yeah, Song for America. I was just going to say that.
Voyage of 818. Epic. We have epic songs. And those, for me, of course, an album can't be full of that or it becomes flatline.
Right, exactly.
But my favorite aspect of Kansas are those epics. And The Wall,
yes.
If it's not on top, it's second, it's third, and it's right up there.
Yeah. Magnum Opus. That song reminds me of Ben-Hur, when he's on the slave ship with the whip in the beginning of the song.
That was kind of the intention.
I always think of Ben-Hur when I hear that song. I love that song. And there's very little vocals, very short, but it does the job,
The song was actually, we're working on material and just kind of noticed we have a lot of snippets of parts. I've got this part and Carrie's got this part, and what if we connected here to there? And we just started assembling something. And of course, in that assembly, you start creating links to connect the dots to the next spot. And so we called the song Leftoverture because it was made of leftover parts.
Huh. Interesting.
And just what a perfect title for a song of leftovers. The record company swooped in and goes, wait a minute. That's the best album title we've ever heard. And so they said, this song is now called Magnum Opus, and the album is called Leftoverture. And okay, I can see a lot of symmetry to that. That makes sense because I love that title.
Yeah, me too.
But it was a fun exercise in assembling because, okay, I've got this part down, and where are we going to put that? Elson buttered up right here. Then Steve goes, what about this down, 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 down? And so the Carrie's got the following part, and it's like picking up pieces of tape off the floor and gluing them together, and then rolling it. And we were just horse laughing of this jagged journey across this song that starts with Ben-Hur and then ends with it again.
Yeah.
With and then with the small little vocal part, it was so cool.
It is cool.
It was to try to recreate that approach again. I think we just kind of had a perfect moment.
Yeah. These songs could have been soundtrack to movies, Like That
Well,
could
there
have been the
was so many
soundtrack
things,
to Ben-Hur.
there's so many things that were influenced by us, um, you know, musically, but our approach would be, you know, with electric guitars, etc.
Yeah.
Just I don't know if you remember an old program that would be on for like 10 minutes, like on, you know, before the cartoons would come on Sunday,
Right.
Saturday morning, or you'd be at the theater and these little reels,
Yeah,
15-minute
sure.
reels of Industry on Parade.
Yeah.
Now, Industry on Parade had some really cool industrial, you know, creating these tension sounds of industry, and there were odd non-musical musical things that make no sense, but they would assemble them. They would create these great tensions
Yeah.
and moods and stuff, and we all grew up with that.
Sure.
And so our Industry on Parade was kind of an approach in some of those things.
That's interesting. Huh. I do want to mention, can I tell you, the new version is fantastic. You guys nailed it, man. I really, really liked it. And of course, David Ragsdale shined on that. David's a great musician, like you say. And he reminds me of, I guess his music ability is kind of like John McPhee of the Doobie Brothers. You know, they got that, you know, that ability to just pick up an instrument.
Yes.
Yeah.
David's a fantastic guitar player.
Yeah. Huh. Oh, he's a great guitar player as well. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. He's really good. I mean,
Really?
He can do a lot of things I can't do. He's a very good guitar player.
Huh. Did not know that.
He comes from musical chops of his whole life, studying lessons. He played in the Tulsa Symphony. I mean, he is a very deep musical knowledge. What really helps him on his guitar playing, plus he rebelled against his parents. He wanted to play rock guitar. He didn't want to play violin for a while. And so he played a lot of guitar.
Yeah.
But then he kind of realized that there's a million guitar players around, but there's very few rock violinists.
Exactly.
And now there's a new Kansas out, and there was like with Steve Morse. They don't have a violinist, so he did a tape of the albums with Steve Morse, and he added the missing violin parts, and he sent it to us saying, "This is what this sounded like if she had a violinist," and that's how he got the gig.
Wow, yeah, he's excellent. I like your comments about sticking to a commitment, because you guys grew up in a I don't want to say strict, but very committed household. You and Phil.
Just a Midwestern ethic of you make a commitment and you follow it through. It wasn't done with a belt. It was done by example. It was normal. That's what you knew. I'm going to go do this, and then you just did it.
My dad was also part of the Greatest Generation. He was in the Marines in World War II. He passed away a few months ago. He was 97. But your mom and dad met in England during the war, World War II.
Yeah, my dad was a sergeant, went over with the Normandy invasion. He's and my mother was a war bride that he met, when they're stationed. That my sister was born in England.
Wow. And then Phil's dad was a colonel, right, in the Air Force.
Yeah. Colonel in the Air Force.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had the whole band. I think 5 out of 6 was all military background. Greatest Generation for sure, and they didn't come home and whine and complain about it. They just went back to work.
Exactly.
Went back to their previous commitments. Yeah. And that rubbed off on us.
Yep. They didn't complain about much at all, really. They were, you did your thing. This is life. Get over it. Man.
Yeah, I really wish more of that would have been shared with me now.
Yeah. As
an adult, that I could pass that on to my daughter.
Right.
Although my daughter seems to have gotten a lot of it through osmosis.
Yep. Usually that happens.
She's retired Navy.
Oh, wow.
Both. And they are a
Huh.
team to be reckoned with. You know,
Yeah.
they can do and will do anything. We have they get a house, they want to sheetrock the walls and ceiling. They go on YouTube, they figure it out, and they do it themselves.
Right.
It's just they are go getters that can't be stopped.
What does she do in the Navy? What was her job, I guess?
That would they're both in. Oh God, what is the word? It's in the all in the armament of things.
Oh, okay. Was she on the ship or?
No, they worked out of Norfolk, Virginia,
Oh, okay.
and never were deployed.
Right.
Her husband had an injury
Mm-hmm.
on the ice and cracked his head open and was no longer available,
Mm-hmm.
to be on duty. And my sister almost went somewhere in the middle of the. Oh, it was terrifying place. And then that one got pulled, and then then they got married, and they had a child, and that kind of ended their possibility of being on a tour.
Right.
And I'm pretty grateful for that.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad times at that time.
Yeah. My wife's best friend was in the Navy, and she was also stationed in Norfolk. And we used to go visit her, and she took us on all the aircraft carriers over there. It was really cool.
Yeah, it's I'm glad they're out of there because
Yeah.
the area, a lot of crime.
Really. Yeah. Yeah. Now you're right. Virginia Beach as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they had his passion
Mm-hmm.
is motorcycles and four-wheelers and stuff, and
Right.
they opened a shop there, a repair shop, and they were dealing more with repairing motorcycles for gang members
Really? Huh.
than anything else. They moved to Texas
Yeah.
and are starting their own shop there in a little bit more sane environment.
Oh, yeah. Do you have grandkids?
Yes, as I have with my wife now, we have one granddaughter, and for my previous wife, I have. What's going on with my phone? I have a granddaughter, and she is a chip off the block of those two. She's 6 years old.
Oh,
And does not stop.
of course
She is
not.
a child in motion, completely fearless. Rides. She has her own four-wheeler. I mean, it's
wow.
her life is going to be a lot of fun because her parents
Yeah.
are fun and not afraid of life in general.
Good. Yeah, I love grandkids. I got 5 grandkids. Yep. And they all live here. I live in Florida, so they all live close by, which I'm very lucky.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I want to agree with you on something. And I'm glad it's on the new album. And I want to mention another Fork in the Road, 50 Years of Kansas. That's the new 3 CD album, which is incredible. Lots and lots of music. But The Voyage of the 818 is on that album. And you mentioned that it's a great song. And it is a great song. It should get more PR, from people. But I agree with you. It's an excellent song.
Well, if that were on, let's say, Left Overture or
Right.
Point of Return, in the days where albums actually sold and mattered,
Mm-hmm.
it would be an epic song.
Sure, exactly.
Now to sell thousands of records is pretty commonplace, whereas in the late 70s, 80s, going gold or platinum was fairly commonplace.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, we're in a genre that has gone out of favor a very long time ago.
I know.
We're not going to get airplay. We're not going to, and so it's understandable. But that was one of the most Kansas-esque songs that ever came down the road, and that was long after the original 6.
I agree with you 100%. It's a great tune.
hard to play, fun to
Yeah.
play.
Yep.
We were always holding on for life because there are so many opportunities for the wheel to fall off the wagon in that song. That just come crashing to a halt.
Last time I talked to Phil, it's been a while, but he mentioned about this story. He says that he remembered one time you guys opened for the Rolling Stones. There was 90,000 people at Cleveland Stadium. The Stones and Mick Jagger walked into your dressing room to see how you guys were doing. And you guys all just kind of stared at him in awe and didn't say a word.
That was in Boulder, Colorado.
Oh, it was in Colorado? Okay.
Yeah. After the Cleveland show, it was at the old baseball stadium. Phil and I got on the Learjet with our wives at the time and flew to Topeka for our 10th year anniversary.
Right.
Graduation. Shortly after that, we played in Boulder in the football stadium, and they had a big tent city for backstage. I remember sitting there kind of warming up, people getting changed, and looking out the window, and you hear this cheering, and you see the entourage of limos coming up. Okay, clearly the Stones have arrived. It's probably 4 p.m. And all of a sudden our tent door opens, it's Mick and Keith. Yeah. Hello. Glad you're all here. Love your band. Anything you need, just let us know. Again, very happy to see you here, and good luck tonight and all that. And that's the only time I've ever been starstruck. I didn't know what to say. I don't even know if I uttered mumbles. I was just so shocked. And they were nicely dressed, very proper English gentlemen. Everything about it I wasn't expecting. And they're so gracious. I was completely dumbfounded. I never said a word.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I love it when rock stars are in awe of other rock stars. It just shows you're human. John Anderson of Yes told me the same story about George Harrison. He didn't know what to say to George Harrison when he first met him. I said, "But you're John Anderson of Yes." And he says, "Yeah, but he's a Beatle."
Yeah. Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
A friend of mine was working in the studio in London. He goes to the bathroom, he's taking a piss, and somebody comes next to him, and he just kind of stood there, he kind of glanced over and jumped back and almost pissed all over him. It was Paul McCartney.
Well, then he got a souvenir. That's funny. Well, do you think the Chiefs are going to make it to the Super Bowl?
I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Really hoping. They're a great team.
Great quarterback.
Any given Sunday, but
yeah,
I'll tell you what, this San Francisco defense is frightening.
They're good, aren't they?
Yeah, and so while they don't have the offensive power, but with McCaffrey, you never know. But San Francisco looks really good too. But then there's the Eagles. My God, they're just turning people to shreds.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Kansas City's nemesis is Cincinnati.
Yeah.
They just can't beat them. But then Cincinnati struggles with Cleveland. It's funny how that works.
Yeah.
Mahomes could beat anybody on any given day.
Yep.
And I'm glad. I hated to see them lose the cheetah. But they'd figured that one out already. It was this two-dimensional team. Now he's got like 9 guys to throw to.
Right. And
they have a lot more depth. Will the offensive line hold up against Philly? Will it hold up against the 49ers? I think that's the test. If they can continue to score like they do, they've got a really good chance. But this is a weird year.
It's a strange year.
The Chargers could come out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
Because they got an unbelievable quarterback. So it's hard to guess on this one. But I almost stopped watching the games. I get so upset.
I used to do that too.
The Denver game, I've sent a text to a friend. Finally, I can sit here and relax and watch just a good old fashioned ass kicking.
Yeah.
As soon as I said that, interception, touchdown Denver. In 5 minutes, they scored 3 times, and it was now 27-21. And it's like 2 minutes into the second half. And then I sat there and twisted and turned the entire time, and we escaped with a win by 6 points. It was a nightmare. And almost every Chiefs game I watch is the most thrilling game I've ever seen in my life. And it drives me crazy. Come on, beat the crap out of somebody for a championship.
Exactly. Yeah, the Buccaneers have drove me crazy this year. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. This is definitely Brady's last year.
But, it should be, but yeah, I mean, he looks in better health.
He looks great.
His smarts are there.
Yeah.
Maybe a little sidetracked with, personal issues, but I just don't think he's got the team behind him either. Who would replace him, and they would suddenly be the winners they were.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of rebuilding after he leaves.
Yeah, I mean, 2 years ago, that team was a phenomenal team. And so it's hard to hold on. You try to keep a hold of that magic. And then if the NFL, it just doesn't last for long.
Yeah, I'm a big hockey fan, and we're loving Tampa Bay Lightning. I mean, they've been the the championship 3 years in a row. They won 2 of them, and they look great again. They're like a machine, So
I never grew up with hockey.
Yeah,
and so I get it's an acquired taste.
Well, Kansas doesn't have a team.
No, and
they should.
I used to ice skate quite a bit when I was a
kid.
Huh. But it had nothing to do with hockey.
Yeah.
We just had frozen ponds.
Exactly. Rich, here's your final question. And I ask everybody this question. I get some very interesting answers. If you had a Field of Dreams wish, like the movie, to perform or collaborate with anyone from the past or present, who would that be?
Wow. No gigantic wish list here. Okay, but to have had the chops and the understanding of the language of like Steely Dan, the way they could. I don't care for jazz much,
right?
But they had a way of making it not only palatable, but incredible. And then the incredible players that could interpret that was really magical. Of course, anything to do with any Beatle being the reason that I even got started. And then I think about, the more rocking side of me. I think a guy that would have been a really cool guy to play with, Dave Grohl.
Yep.
There are some people that I believe are what you see, that are authentic. He's not an actor. Dave Grohl is Dave Grohl. I believe him. I believe in him.
Yeah.
Tom Petty.
Yep.
Tom Petty, love him, hate him, whatever. They were the most intricate, unbelievable rock band, but they had a coolness to them. I believed him. That he was very real to me.
Yeah.
Very much like Bob Dylan. Terrible singer, fantastic plays guitar okay.
Yeah.
But I believe him. And so it's the authenticity of those things that are actually real. They're not manufactured.
Yep.
Like the Beatles, real. The Monkees, TV show. Tom Petty, that band was a real band.
Exactly.
They were cool.
Yeah.
And so I have a deep respect for someone who can Again, Tom Petty, the best voice you've ever heard? No, but the perfect voice for him.
Yeah.
I mean, it was great. And when he collaborated, that moxie came through every time.
Yep.
And so those are the kind of things that I look at as far as if things were different. That's what I would search for. Would not be the raw talent, the best in the room, greatest guitar player, greatest drummer, greatest singer. I would search for the most believable.
Right. Did you say once, though, in an interview, if you picked another band to play in, it was AC/DC? Did you once say that?
What a fun band that would be. I mean, that would be just a blast to play in AC/DC.
That'd be so easy for you to play it too. You know?
Well, it's one of the, you would have to kind of relearn playing in a way, because what we do is fairly complex. And I hate to use the word dumbing down, because there's nothing dumb about it. But to relearn and playing in that style,
right, would
take a lot of dedication.
Yeah.
To stay in that box and not get out of it.
Exactly.
To play that authentically, like blues. I mean, Joe Bonamassa. Yeah, he can go outside of that genre, but he, the basic heart of him is there, and he can just get as traditional as you want it. And is a scary player. Yeah. I mean, he's one of those guys that I keep like doing rig rundowns, checking out what he's playing through and stuff. And he's Joe Bonamassa, no matter what guitar or what amp he's playing through. Yeah. It's all in his hands. Yep. It's all in his picking attack. It's it's in his knowledge of what he can get out of whatever he's playing through.
You know, speaking of that, you ever want to put out a solo album? Maybe, do something different, some blues or?
No.
Okay.
I've watched just within our own camp.
Right.
People come and go and decide that, wait till I get on my own and I'll get to do things my way.
Right.
It hasn't ever really panned out in that way. I don't think was ever a step in a positive direction. Their material didn't get better without the rest of us. Let me put it that way. We were very good at editing ourselves.
Right.
And so why would me, someone who has written a little bit, try to compare myself with those who've done a lot and not done all that well? I got into this whole thing because I wanted to be on a team. Even before I had my first guitar, I heard the calling of being a part of this circus, and not just being on stage, not just the fun and a little bit of money and this and that. It was the good times, the bad times, and somehow recognizing the entire lifetime of the ups and downs, good times, bad, of it all.
Right.
And at an early age, my temperament was set to be that guy. And so to break away from people are coming and going, wanting to do solo. It's like, why? The grass is not greener over there.
Right.
We are crapping in tall cotton where we are right now.
Yeah.
And you want to change that? I don't get it.
Yeah.
But people have their reasons, and you have to respect that. But that has never been my calling, to wait till I do it on myself. I'll show everybody. I will. I'll show you all. No. I love being part of the team. Yeah. And to see what us together can achieve.
Well, your fan base is strong as ever. 2023, you're going to be on the road again. And guess what? March 11th, you'll be in Tampa at Busch Gardens.
Oh, yeah. I just saw that come up.
Yeah, very cool. After that, you'll be in Oklahoma, California, bunch of dates there. Yep, you'll be on the road again. Illinois, Kentucky, Louisville. Kansas is back again. That's awesome. Rich, you're in my top 5 guitar players of all time, by the way.
Wow, thank you so
You're a
much.
great guitar player. You don't get enough credit sometimes, and I hate it when they talk about the greatest guitar players. Oh, Jimmy Page and Jimmy Henry. Come on, enough is enough.
It doesn't matter.
You
I
know,
was playing. Steve Morris was in the band,
Steve Morse is a very good guitar player.
and
Yes,
he had just won third year in a row greatest
right,
guitar player on earth, which
right,
now eliminated from the contest, put him in the Hall of Fame.
right.
Um, that's pretty legendary.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're coming back from a show one night, and we wander by the bar in the hotel, and there's a little combo playing in the corner, and I learned a lesson that night. We're kind of looking, and they kind of sucked, and the guitar player wasn't very good at all. And I was kind of thinking, oh God, these guys kind of suck. And Steve, before I said anything, Steve goes, "Did you see that? Did you see what that guy just did?" He said, he did this, and then he did this thing with his toggle switch and stuff. And he said, I've never seen anybody do that before. Steve was learning all the time,
Mm-hmm.
was not judgmental.
Right.
Just because he had all this talent didn't mean he couldn't learn other approaches from people that are just even starting.
Mm-hmm.
It's not if it was a contest, we'd be all listening to little kids off of YouTube that are geniuses, or listening to the opera or real disjointed jazz that I can't stand to listen to myself. It is not a contest, but people always want to make it one. You get 6 guys together, friends, most important, and you all get together and you just start playing and making a joyous sound together.
Sure.
And you all continue, and you remain friends. That's what it's about. If along the way you see some money and a career out of it, stuff, that's just icing on the cake.
Sure.
But music is to be enjoyed by the listener. It's to be enjoyed by the player. It does not have to be put in a box of how fast, how slow, how unbelievable, how out of key. None of that matters.
Yep.
Make it fun. And if you like it, that's all that matters.
Sure. I agree with
you. Like to listen to, a couple of hillbillies sitting on a stump playing a banjo? There's nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
And don't let anybody tell you that there is.
That's right. I agree with you. Well, you're one heck of a guitar player, man. I've admired you for years. I want to say special thanks to Jen Farhood, the tour publicist with Chipster PR and consulting, for arranging this interview with Rich. Purchased Another Fork in the Road, which is out today, by the way, 50 Years of Kansas. It's out on your website. It's on Amazon.com. Very easy to get. It's full of incredible music. I recommend it highly. It's got some great tracks on there, I think Phil picked a lot of the tracks, didn't he?
No, actually, the tracks, we were on the road. We were busy. Thomas Weber with Inside Out really wanted this project.
Right.
And he approached us with an idea of, guys, what if you let us kind of put this together, and then we'll look through it and see what changes you want to do. And so we had a bit of a hands-off approach, which is not something we'd never done before. But we were open to the idea, because they were big Kansas fans long before we were on their label. So let me and Jeff Wagner look at this from our perspective.
Right.
Okay. And, of course, not wanting to represent our entire 50 years. And so we gave them the ball. You guys put this together. And we made a few changes in the material, but we understood why they're doing it this way. And it was the same with the cover.
Very interesting cover.
The artwork.
Yeah.
This was their idea. That we saw the rough sketch, and then we started, adding art our thoughts and input into it, but it was collaborative. But I have to get credit where it's due. It was the record company. They came up with the initial concept of it all, and we just helped fine tune it and a few things that were missing, etc. They put together a tremendous package, and I can actually look at this, since I don't have a lot of skin in it, I can look at this as a fan.
Yeah.
And go, wow, this is a great package.
Yeah, that's good
to
hear.
The booklet, a lot of interviews, just a lot of stuff in this. And people keep asking, this will be out in vinyl one day.
Good. Oh, yeah.
What people don't understand about the business is vinyl is extreme. There's a year-long waiting list for anybody that puts in an order today to get vinyl made.
That's amazing, isn't it? Making a comeback.
It just can't. Well, there's so few people that actually make it. And so you have to wait in line to get it done. So that is an issue and a reality. So, but we didn't want to wait a year to release this. It'd been well, we would call it the 51st anniversary. It doesn't make any sense.
Every year,
So eventually this will be available on vinyl, but until that day, we're going to have to live with this.
I had Simon Collins and Kelly Nordstrom on yesterday. Simon Collins being the son of Phil Collins, Simon, and they just put out a new album that's coming out in February. He's in a new band called E Molecule, but it's on InsideOutMusic. Coincidence? It's very coincidence that back-to-back InsideOutMusic labels. So yeah, they're getting some recognition here, I guess.
That's great.
Yeah. Rich, thank you so much, man, for being on the show today. I really appreciate it. Thank you for all the great music through the years, and thank you for
your support, and thank you for your compliments, of course, and thanks for having me on.
Thank you for getting me through high school. You probably get that a lot. Happy holidays to you and your family.
Okay, thank you so much. Same to you.
All right, Rich. Take care, man.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.